Welcome to the Cheating Wife Stories channel. Gabe Dawson wiped grease from his hands with a threadbare rag, surveying the cramped garage he'd rented on the outskirts of town. Tools borrowed from former construction sites lined the walls, each representing a favor called in or a promise made. His weathered pickup truck sat outside, its bed filled with supplies for tomorrow's drywall job. "You should eat something," Lena called from the garage doorway, still in her hospital scrubs from the night shift. Dark circles rimmed her eyes, but her smile carried the warmth that had first drawn Gabe to her 5 years ago. "Just finishing up the quotes for the Hamilton project," Gabe replied, shuffling through papers on his makeshift desk. A door laid across 2 sawhorses. Lena crossed the oil-stained concrete floor, placing a wrapped sandwich next to his papers. "The baby and I need you healthy," she said, resting a hand on her growing belly. "Even future construction moguls have to eat." Gabe pulled her close, breathing in the antiseptic hospital smell mixed with her lavender shampoo. "Future mogul? Right now, I'd settle for making next month's rent." "You will." Lena's conviction never wavered. "I've seen how your crews look at you on the sites. They trust you, Gabe. That's worth more than fancy equipment or rich investors." A knock interrupted them. Will Anders, a foreman from their days working together at Franklin Construction, stood in the doorway. "Bad news, boss. Franklin's trying to blacklist us with the suppliers. Says we're undercutting his bids." Gabe straightened, jaw tightening. "We're undercutting him because we're not padding the bills with fake overtime like he does." "The Patterson job called," Will continued. "They're worried about using us now." Lena squeezed Gabe's hand. "Tell them about the hospital renovation you did. Show them the letter from the board praising your work for coming in under budget." Will's face brightened. "That could work. Franklin can't touch the hospital's reputation." Gabe watched his wife and friend problem solve, their belief in him a tangible force in the cluttered garage. "We do this right," he said firmly. "No shortcuts, no games. I want to build something my kid can be proud of." The following months blurred into a rhythm of early mornings and late nights. Lena picked up extra shifts in the maternity ward, saving every spare dollar. Gabe's crew grew from 3 to 7 as word spread about his honest pricing and quality work. When Mia Catherine Dawson arrived on a crisp autumn morning, Gabe held his daughter in the same hands that had built his business from nothing. Lena, exhausted but radiant, watched from her hospital bed. "Promise me something," she whispered, as Gabe placed Mia in her arms. "Promise she'll never know the nights we ate ramen so we could buy work boots. Promise she'll have the chances we didn't." "I promise," Gabe's voice cracked. "But I want her to know how her mother worked doubles to support her father's dream. I want her to know what real love looks like." Their early years with Mia became a delicate balance. Gabe's company grew steadily, earning a reputation for reliability that attracted larger contracts. Lena reduced her hours to part-time, treasuring mornings in their small apartment with Mia while Gabe met with clients. Then came the day Lena's hands trembled too much to hold a coffee cup. The diagnosis, aggressive pancreatic cancer, shattered their carefully constructed world. Gabe moved jobs around, ensuring he could drive her to chemotherapy appointments while still keeping his crews working. "I need you to promise me something else," Lena said one evening, her voice weak but determined. Maya slept in her lap, unaware that her mother's time was measured in months, not years. "Anything," Gabe managed, fighting back tears. "When I'm gone, don't close yourself off. Maya needs a mother's love, not just memories." Lena stroked their daughter's hair. "But make sure she loves her like I do. Not just the idea of being her mother, but her. All of her, even the stubborn parts she gets from you." "Lena." Gabe's throat felt tight. "Promise me, Gabe. Promise you'll open your heart again. But protect hers." "I promise," he whispered, feeling as if shards of glass were lodged in his chest. Lena's decline accelerated after that conversation. Gabe brought Mia to the hospital daily, letting her color pictures for the nurse's station while he sat with Lena. The hospital staff, many of whom had worked with her for years, took turns entertaining Mia, creating a bubble of normalcy in the sterile corridors. On her last night, Lena rallied briefly, her mind clear. "Tell me about today's big meeting," she asked Gabe, who had rushed to the hospital straight from a client presentation. "Got the community center contract," he said, holding her fragile hand. "Remember how you said we should bid on it, even though it was a long shot?" A faint smile. "You'll do amazing things, Gabe Dawson. Just remember what matters most." "Mia," they said together. Lena's last breath came before dawn. Gabe held her hand until the warmth faded, then walked to the nurse's station where their daughter slept on a makeshift bed of chairs. He gathered Mia in his arms, her small body trusting and warm, and carried her home to a world forever changed. The following years tested Gabe's promise to Lena. Well-meaning friends tried setting him up, but he measured each potential relationship against Lena's warning about loving Mia. None passed that crucial test. His company continued growing, built on the foundation of integrity Lena had believed in. Gabe established a scholarship fund in her name for nursing students, ensuring her compassion lived on. Mia grew into a thoughtful 9-year-old who kept her mother's photo by her bed and inherited her father's determination. Then came the Children's Hospital Wing project, a turning point disguised as a simple renovation. Gabe bid at cost, knowing Lena would have wanted the children to have the best possible environment for healing. The hospital board insisted on honoring him at their annual gala. "You don't have to go," Will said during a site inspection. "I can accept it for you." Gabe adjusted his hard hat, watching the crews install specially designed lighting to help young patients feel less afraid. "Lena would want me there. She always said healing happens better in beautiful spaces." The gala sparkled with wealth and influence, a world away from Gabe's borrowed toolkit days. He felt out of place until his speech, when he talked about Lena's belief that everyone deserved dignity in healing spaces. The applause carried genuine appreciation, not just polite acknowledgement. "That was beautifully said," a voice commented as Gabe left the podium. Vanessa Blackwood, elegant in deep blue, offered her hand. "I'm on the hospital board. Your wife's philosophy about healing spaces resonated with me. I lost my parents in a car crash, spent months in a hospital room that felt more like a prison." Something in her expression, an old pain quickly controlled, reminded Gabe of his own grief. They talked through dinner about loss and rebuilding, about her grandmother's guidance through tragedy. Vanessa asked thoughtful questions about Mia, showing genuine interest in Gabe's stories about his daughter's latest achievements. As the evening ended, Vanessa touched his arm lightly. "Thank you for sharing Lena's story. It helps, knowing others understand that kind of loss." Gabe watched her walk away, Lena's words echoing in his mind. "Open your heart again, but protect hers." For the first time in 5 years, the advice felt less like an impossible task and more like a challenge to be navigated carefully. Will voiced his concerns first. "She's awfully polished for our crowd," he said during their Monday meeting. "You sure she's not just interested in the successful contractor, not the guy who started in a rented garage?" "I thought the same," Gabe admitted, "but you should see her with Mia. No condescension, no forced enthusiasm. Just genuine interest." Indeed, Vanessa's interactions with Mia became the foundation of Gabe's growing trust. She attended Mia's dance recitals, asked thoughtful questions about the techniques. When Mia mentioned missing her mother during a mother-daughter tea at school, Vanessa suggested they honor Lena by volunteering at the hospital's pediatric ward, something Lena would have loved. Paige, Gabe's sister, maintained her lawyer's skepticism longer. "She's too perfect," she argued over coffee. "Perfect manners, perfect background, perfect timing. Maybe some people are just good," Gabe countered. "Lena was." Paige softened slightly. "Lena was 1 in a million. Just be careful, okay? Not just for you, but for Mia." The turning point in Paige's opinion came during Mia's 10th birthday. Vanessa arrived early to help set up, carrying a leather-bound album. "I hope this isn't overstepping," she said hesitantly, but I found these in the hospital archives. Photos from Lena's nursing school graduation, her first day on the pediatric ward. I thought Mia might like to see her mother's journey. Paige examined the album critically, looking for signs of manipulation. Instead, she found carefully preserved moments of Lena's early career, including newspaper clippings about her work establishing a support group for parents of chronically ill children. "This must have taken weeks to compile," Paige said quietly. Vanessa smoothed her skirt, a gesture of genuine nervousness. "I wanted Mia to see that her mother's compassion influenced people long before she became a mother herself. That kind of legacy deserves to be remembered." The birthday party became a celebration of both present joy and honored memories. Mia clutched the album throughout, sharing stories about her mother with friends who had never known Lena. Vanessa stayed in the background, deflecting praise for the gift and keeping other parents' coffee cups filled. As the party wound down, Gabe found Vanessa in the kitchen, quietly washing dishes. "You didn't have to do this," he said, picking up a towel to dry. "I know," she handed him a plate, "but I wanted to." Mia deserved a perfect day. Their wedding, 6 months later, reflected Vanessa's understanding of the delicate balance required. She suggested the Lakeview estate, because Mia felt closest to Lena there. The ceremony incorporated subtle tributes to Lena, Mia carrying her mother's favorite flowers, a moment of silence to honor those watching from above. Vanessa's vows acknowledged the complexity of their blended family. "I promise to honor Lena's memory as I help guide the daughter she blessed us with. I promise to be not a replacement, but an addition to the love that already fills this family." Gabe's wedding gift announcement, putting the Lakeview estate in Mia's name, brought tears to Vanessa's eyes. Only we'll notice the slight tightening of her smile, filing it away with other small concerns. Later, during the reception, Paige pulled Gabe aside. "I was wrong about her," she admitted. "The way she handles Mia honors Lena's memory. Maybe some people are just good." Gabe watched Vanessa teaching Mia a waltz step, their laughter carrying across the Lakeview estate lawn. Lena's last request, "Make sure they love her as much as I do," seemed fulfilled. He couldn't know that the foundation he'd built with such care was about to face its greatest test, or that Vanessa's perfect facade concealed depths of cruelty that would challenge every promise he'd made to Lena. The transformation of the Dawson household began like ice forming on a lake, transparent layers hardening imperceptibly until the surface could bear weight. Vanessa's first suggestion seemed thoughtful, considerate of both practical needs and emotional attachments. "Darling," she said one morning, coffee cup poised delicately, "I've been thinking about Lena's old home office. Mia never uses it for studying. She says the medical texts make her uncomfortable. What if we transformed it into a proper sitting room? Somewhere she could entertain friends." Gabe glanced toward the office door, remembering Lena surrounded by textbooks as she studied for her pediatric certification. Those books meant a lot to her. "Of course they did," Vanessa soothed. "We could donate them to the hospital's medical library. Lena would want them used, not gathering dust while Mia avoids the room." Mia, entering for breakfast, caught the end of this exchange. "I don't avoid it," she protested. "I like sitting in Mom's chair sometimes, looking at her notes in the margins." Vanessa's expression shifted to concerned understanding. "Sweetheart, I worry that you're clinging to painful reminders instead of moving forward. Your mother would want you living in the present, not a shrine to the past." "Dad." Mia looked to Gabe, uncertainty clouding her features. Gabe felt torn between honoring Lena's memory and acknowledging Vanessa's point about moving forward. "Maybe we could take photos of Lena's important notations before donating the books. Keep her thoughts while letting the books help other nurses." "Perfect compromise." Vanessa beamed. "I'll handle everything. You're so busy with the Urban Renewal Project." The project, Gabe's company's largest undertaking, could secure his employees' futures for years, but required intense focus. "I can take more responsibility at home," Vanessa offered during a rare evening when Gabe made it home for dinner. You need to concentrate on work, and Mia needs consistent guidance. Will voiced his concerns during their weekly project meeting. The crews are asking about you, boss. You used to check every site daily. Vanessa's right. I need to delegate more, Gate replied. The urban renewal project could change lives in that neighborhood. Just don't delegate so much you lose touch, Will warned. Some things need the owner's eyes. Vanessa's influence expanded into every corner of their lives, particularly Mia's daily routine. The changes were subtle but relentless. Family photos began migrating, replaced by professional portraits featuring Vanessa prominently. Lena's presence diminished to a single photo in Mia's room, one Vanessa deemed appropriate for a growing girl's decor. Camila Rivas, their housekeeper of 10 years, witnessed the psychological warfare's escalation. She heard Vanessa's comments when Gade was absent. A lady doesn't slouch like that. Your mother would be mortified by your common behavior. One afternoon, Camila found Mia crying in Lena's old office, now transformed into an elegant sitting room. Señorita Mia, what's wrong? She asked gently. She says I'm embarrassing Dad at business dinners. Mia whispered that Mom would be ashamed of how unrefined I am. Camila glanced at her phone, already recording, a habit she developed as Vanessa's behavior worsened. Your mom would be proud of you, Nina. She loved your honest heart. How do you know? Because I knew her. She cared about kindness, not fancy manners. Wait here. Camila retrieved a photo from her purse. Lena and Mia at age 5, both laughing with ice cream on their faces. Your mom kept this in her locker at the hospital, said it reminded her what mattered most. Mia clutched the photo, but her moment of comfort shattered as Vanessa's voice cut through the room. Mia, why aren't you practicing your violin? Camila's protective instincts flared. She was helping me organize, Mrs. Dawson. I found some old photos. How thoughtful, Vanessa interrupted smoothly. But Mia's musical education must take priority. Run along, dear. Camila, I need to speak with you about some missing items. The missing items proved to be Vanessa's grandmother's brooch, which Camila had never seen before. Vanessa produced edited security footage showing Camila near her jewelry box, removing the moment Vanessa herself placed the brooch there. I understand times are hard, Vanessa told Gabe that evening. But we can't ignore theft, even from long-term employees. Camila's been with us since Mia was tiny, Gabe protested. Lena trusted her completely. People change, Vanessa sighed. I've already hired a replacement through my agency, much more professional. The new housekeeper, Margaret, reported directly to Vanessa. The house now ran with military precision, but warmth flowed from its spaces like heat escaping an open window. Meanwhile, Vanessa began hosting elaborate dinner parties, introducing Gabe to carefully selected business contacts. Oliver Sterling, an art dealer fighting fraud allegations, became a regular guest. The art market's volatile, Oliver explained during one such dinner. But there's opportunity in chaos for those who recognize true value. Oliver helped me understand investment potential after my grandmother passed, Vanessa said, leaning in. She taught me to spot opportunities others miss. Gabe noted Maya's absence from these gatherings. Vanessa insisted she eat earlier, claiming business discussions would bore her. The separation grew deeper as Vanessa filled Mia's schedule with activities that kept her away from home whenever investors visited. The facade cracked the day Mia discovered her mother's journals missing from their special place in her desk. Panic seized her as she searched through drawers she kept meticulously organized since age 8. They must be here, she whispered. They have to be. Vanessa appeared in the doorway, looking for something. Mom's journals, Maya said, voice trembling. They're gone. Oh, those old things. Vanessa's tone carried practiced sympathy. Don't you remember? You burned them last week during your episode. Mia stared at her stepmother. What? No, I didn't. Darling, I saw you in the backyard. You said you were tired of living in your mother's shadow. Vanessa stepped closer, concern etched on her features. I was worried, but Dr. Stevens says it's normal for teenagers to act out. I didn't tell your father. I know how disappointed he'd be. Vanessa touched Mia's shoulder. Let's keep this between us, shall we? Part of moving forward. The journal's disappearance haunted Mia, making her question her own memories. But Vanessa had underestimated Camila's loyalty. The former housekeeper had been building a case, gathering evidence of Vanessa's systematic psychological abuse. Camila's nephew Dante, a cybersecurity expert, helped document Vanessa's manipulations. They recorded phone conversations between Vanessa and Oliver, revealing the calculated nature of their scheme. The girl's breaking. Vanessa told Oliver, "Once she's gone, Gabe will be completely isolated. Getting power of attorney will be simple. Just stick to the plan," Oliver cautioned. "One wrong move, and everything falls apart." These recordings would eventually reach Gabe, but for now, Candela focused on protecting Mia. She arranged to accidentally run into her at the grocery store, maintaining their connection despite Vanessa's attempts at isolation. Gabe's first suspicions solidified during a charity auction at Oliver's gallery. He noticed Vanessa and Oliver exchanging subtle signals. Their practiced casualness triggered memories of Lena's warnings about trust. The next day, he contacted Aisha Ramos, a former FBI forensic accountant whose nonprofit he'd helped establish. "I need a background check," he explained in her sparse office. "Something doesn't add up." Aisha's investigation shattered Vanessa's carefully constructed history. There was no wealthy grandmother, she reported, spreading documents across her desk. Vanessa Blackwood grew up privileged, but lost everything to gambling debts. That's when she met Oliver Sterling. "The art dealer," Gabe said. "The con artist," Aisha corrected. "They've targeted wealthy widowers before, but never someone with your resources." Oliver rehabilitates her image. She infiltrates social circles. They strip targets' assets through art fraud. Your integrity helps them sell forgeries as if they were real. Gabe examined bank records linking Vanessa to previous frauds. He absorbed the information with a calm that surprised even him. "I need to protect Mia." "You need to be smart," Aisha cautioned. "They're experienced manipulators. One wrong move, and they'll destroy everything you've built." Gabe began moving assets quietly, transferring them to trusts controlled by Paige. Her legal expertise proved invaluable in creating ironclad protections for his company and Mia's inheritance. Dante provided crucial technical support. "Their encryption is good," he admitted, "but their egos make them sloppy. They reuse passwords, leave digital trails." Evidence painted a damning picture. Vanessa and Oliver planned to use Gabe's company to legitimize a massive art fraud operation. His reputation for integrity would help them sell forged artwork through seemingly legitimate channels. Gabe installed a high-grade security system throughout his home, documenting every instance of Vanessa's abuse. Hidden cameras captured her cruel remarks, her gaslighting of Mia, her late-night strategy sessions with Oliver. Thanksgiving dinner became the catalyst Gabe needed. He entered the dining room to find Mia staring at a dog bowl filled with dog food, placed precisely at her usual seat. Vanessa watched with calculated cruelty, waiting for Gabe's reaction. "A child of someone from the slums doesn't need a feast," she announced coldly, savoring Mia's trembling hands. "Your dead wife left me to deal with this." Gabe's fingers tightened on his chair, but his voice remained steady. "Mia, get your coat." "Gabe," Vanessa's tone shifted to Fox's concern. "She needs to learn. Now, Mia." They left without another word, Vanessa's triumphant smirk fading as she realized his response wasn't what she'd expected. She didn't know he'd already met with his board of directors that morning, presenting evidence of her attempts to manipulate company contracts in Oliver's favor. That evening, as Vanessa celebrated her perceived victory with Oliver, Gabe set his plan in motion. Paige prepared divorce papers citing fault, backed by overwhelming evidence of Vanessa's adultery and abuse. Dante began dismantling Oliver's digital empire, replacing gallery records with proof of fraud that would soon attract FBI attention. Everything was in place. Candela had quietly returned to the Lakeview estate, preparing it for Mia's return. The security footage, financial records, and witness statements created an unbreakable case. A week later, Vanessa arrived at Gabe's office, clutching divorce papers. Her face blanched as she realized the extent of his preparation. Her threats about Oliver's retribution died in her throat when Gabe silently played recordings of their conspiracy. "Lena warned me to protect Mia's heart," Gabe said quietly. "I never imagined I'd be protecting it from someone like you." Vanessa's mask cracked. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. Oliver will." "Oliver will what?" Gabe's calm terrified her more than anger would have. "Sell more forged artwork. Threaten my reputation. Every piece in his gallery has been documented. Every conversation recorded. Every transaction traced." Gabe stood, expression unchanged but eyes hard. "You targeted the wrong family. Lena taught me that love protects. You taught Mia that love destroys. Now you'll learn what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness." Vanessa fled, leaving behind the remains of her failed scheme. Gabe watched her go, then called Paige to set the next phase in motion. His quiet exterior masked a man who'd learned from losing Lena that love must be protected at all costs. The dog bowl from Thanksgiving sat on his desk, a reminder of Vanessa's cruelty and his promise to Lena. It would soon serve a greater purpose. Oliver Sterling's fingers drummed against his mahogany desk as he dialed Gabe the morning after Vanessa received the divorce papers. His gallery staff had gone home, leaving him alone among carefully curated artwork, some genuine, others masterful forgeries. "You have no idea what you're dealing with," Oliver said when Gabe answered, his cultured voice dripping with condescension. "I've destroyed better men than you." The line went dead. Oliver stared at his phone, thrown off balance by Gabe's silent dismissal. He'd expected pleading, anger, fear, not calm confidence. "He hung up on me," Oliver told Vanessa, who paced his private office. "Your husband's either braver or stupider than we thought." Vanessa paused near a forged Degas that had earned them millions. "He's neither. Gabe plans 10 steps ahead, especially when it comes to protecting Mia." "Then we strike first," Oliver decided. "Call your contact at OSHA. Let's see how brave he is when his company shut down." The surprise inspection descended on Gabe's largest construction site within hours. Vanessa watched from her car, expecting chaos. Instead, the inspectors voiced growing admiration. "Remarkable safety protocols," the lead inspector told Gabe, who arrived minutes after being notified. "Mind if we document some of these innovations? Other companies could learn from your standards." Vanessa's hands tightened on the steering wheel as she watched Gabe lead the inspectors. Workers greeted him by name, proudly demonstrating the safety features he had implemented. She recalled him mentioning a worker's death years ago, and finally understood why safety had become his obsession. Oliver launched his counterattack through art world gossip channels. Whispers spread about Gabe's company using substandard materials in museum renovations, accusations that should have devastated Gabe's cultural contracts. Instead, he invited international preservation experts to audit his projects, at his own expense. The experts praised his transparency, and the backfired rumors only enhanced Gabe's reputation. Meanwhile, Candela orchestrated her own campaign, contacting society spouses who'd once considered Oliver's deals impeccable. Now, armed with evidence from Dante's investigations, she planted seeds of doubt about every painting Oliver had sold. Each small suspicion blossomed into full-blown paranoia once buyers compared their purchase records against real authentication data. Mia contributed unexpectedly during a session with Dr. Renee Winston, the therapist who'd created a safe space for Mia to process Vanessa's abuse. She talked about her grandmother's art collection constantly. Mia mentioned arranging stones on Dr. Winston's desk, said it taught her to appreciate beauty. Dr. Winston's pen paused. "Did she show you any pieces?" "No. She said they were too valuable for display, But she described a painting, a seaside scene at sunset. She used to stare at Mom's photo and say the colors reminded her of it. This detail led Dr. Winston to contact Harold Chen, an art appraiser nearing retirement who remembered evaluating Vanessa's family collection 15 years ago. Forgeries, Harold confirmed over lunch. Decent ones, but definitely fake. When I told her, she threatened legal action if I revealed my findings. I still have the documentation locked in my office. His documents provided crucial evidence of Vanessa and Oliver's earliest collaboration, revealing a pattern repeated in multiple states. Vanessa's televised interview was a masterpiece of manipulation. She sat in a plush studio chair, outfit carefully selected to project understated wealth, eyes glistening with perfectly timed tears. "I only wanted to help," she told the sympathetic interviewer. Gabe's paranoia about his late wife's memory poisoned everything. Mia needed a mother's guidance, not a shrine to the past. Her performance might have swayed public opinion, except Paige had prepared a USB drive of video clips from Gabe's hidden security system. The station ran Vanessa's tearful claims back to back with footage of her cruelty toward Mia. Outrage erupted, forcing Vanessa to disable her social media accounts. Oliver retaliated by targeting Gabe's supply chain, pressuring suppliers to break contracts through threats and bribes. He personally called Will Anders with an offer. "I'll pay triple your salary to join my development company." Gabe's finished. Why go down with him? Will's response was succinct. "Because Gabe helped me bury my son. He covered the funeral costs when I couldn't afford it, and never asked for repayment. You can't buy loyalty like that." Suppliers echoed Will's stance, remembering how Gabe had offered reduced fees during hard times. Instead of crippling Gabe's operation, Oliver's pressure campaign generated more evidence of coercion. The strain showed in Vanessa and Oliver's partnership. Daunt surveillance captured an argument at the gallery after hours. "You promised offshore accounts," Vanessa hissed, waving financial documents. "Instead, you're buying more forgeries. We need liquid assets." Oliver slammed a hand on the desk. "The forgeries are our insurance. If Gabe exposes us, we flood the market with doubt. No one will know what's real anymore." "He's not like the others," Vanessa retorted. "He's been recording everything. Those cameras in the house, which you should have noticed." Oliver snapped. "You're slipping, Vanessa. That Thanksgiving stunt was amateurish. I told you to keep the girl in line, not torture her." "I had to break her spirit," Vanessa argued. "She's just like her mother, looking at me with those self-righteous eyes." "She's a child." Oliver's temper flared. "A means to an end, but you made it personal." Their partnership disintegrated on camera. Gabe's next move stunned both. He arranged for Dawson Construction to bid on the renovation Oliver's gallery desperately needed. They won with a low bid Oliver couldn't refuse without suspicion. Gabe's crews gained full access, discovering a hidden room containing equipment for artificially aging paintings. Building inspectors got involved, and official reports had to be filed. Vanessa tried one last desperate gambit. She cornered Mia outside her dance studio, brandishing an envelope. "Your father's not who you think. He knew about your mother's cancer months before telling you. I found the test results." Mia pulled out her phone. "Say that again." Vanessa's eyes gleamed. "Test results dated 3 months before he claimed he found out. He lied to you, just like he's lying now." "Mom was a nurse," Maya said calmly, still recording. "She did her own screenings every month." "Are you saying she hid her own diagnosis?" Vanessa faltered. Dad didn't lie," Mia continued. "Mom taught me what real medical records look like. She also taught me what real love looks like. You never had a chance." Oliver attempted to salvage his reputation by hosting a major gallery showing at a secondary venue. Gabe offered the newly finished community center as a replacement location, seemingly generous, impossible for Oliver to refuse without looking suspicious. "It's perfect," Oliver told his staff. Gabe's new center adds social consciousness to our brand. But the building's security system, designed by Dante, documented every piece Oliver brought in, including hidden forgeries. Vanessa recognized the danger too late. He's documenting everything, she warned Oliver. The community center's cameras. Standard security, Oliver dismissed. We'll pass any checks. Like we did with that Monet. Vanessa's laugh was tinged with hysteria. Harold Chen's report is out there. Dr. Winston found it. My grandmother's story. It's all unraveling. You discussed our foundation piece with a therapist. Oliver's eyes flared. Through the girl. I had to make my background believable. Vanessa protested. He glared. You got sloppy. You let your hatred of Mia overshadow the plan. Now everything's exposed. On the eve of the showing, Gabe and his core team gathered at the Lakeview estate. Candela, restored as house manager, had prepared a warm sanctuary. Dante's security feeds monitored Oliver's gallery and the community center. Paige had the legal documents ready to spring the trap. Mia sat with them, no longer a vulnerable target, but an active participant. Why didn't you expose them right after Thanksgiving? She asked, helping Candela's daughter Sophia clear plates. Anyone can destroy someone in a moment of anger, Gabe replied, handing a dish to Dante. True justice takes patience. Dante nodded, understanding. His cyber investigation had uncovered not just Oliver and Vanessa's current plot, but a pattern of devastation across multiple states. By waiting and building an airtight case, Gabe ensured they couldn't escape legal consequences. That night, they dined together as a family. A real one, built on loyalty and shared adversity. Vanessa had tried to tear those bonds apart, but only strengthened them. Oliver Sterling stood before his gallery's prized discovery, the masterpiece he planned to unveil at the community center. In truth, it was a forgery on carefully aged canvas. Tomorrow's showing would cement its authenticity, if not for one problem. A text from a prominent critic made Oliver's blood run cold. Interesting article about your lost masterpiece, identical to one destroyed in a museum fire 30 years ago. He checked online. The critic's tweet had spawned multiple posts, each comparing Oliver's piece to the original. Impossible, he muttered, dialing Vanessa. The documentation was perfect. Vanessa cut him off. I'm fixing this my way. She hung up, gripping the USB drive as she strode into Gabe's office building. Security recognized her, but greeted her coolly. Gabe's assistant showed her in. He sat behind his desk, calmly reviewing building plans. I have proof Oliver forged everything, Vanessa declared, dropping the USB on his desk. All the documentation, the fake provenances, everything you need to stop him. Gabe didn't touch it. Instead, he turned his monitor so she could watch footage of her coaching Oliver on targeting wealthy clients, including details about how to pick recent widowers. That's not. I was just. Vanessa's composure shattered. I did it for us, Gabe. That slum rat daughter of yours was ruining everything we could have been. Gabe's hand tightened on the desk, the only sign of his fury. Without a word, he played another video. Thanksgiving dinner, in its entirety, culminating in her calling Oliver to brag about breaking Mia's spirit. You recorded everything. Vanessa's voice shook. Lena taught me to protect what matters, Gabe said. You taught Mia what cruelty looks like. Now you'll learn what justice feels like. At Oliver's gallery, Dante's encryption locked him out of his sales database. Attempts to access records only revealed more proof of forgeries. His offshore accounts, meant to be a safety net, showed zero balances. The accounts are gone, Oliver told his lawyer. Someone traced them to my previous sales. Previous sales? The lawyer demanded. What previous sales, Oliver? Before Oliver could answer, agents from the FBI Art Crimes Division arrived with search warrants. They found the forgery equipment hidden behind newly exposed walls, exactly as Gabe's renovation work had indicated. Mr. Sterling, said the lead agent, we have some questions about several pieces sold through your gallery. My documentation. Oliver started. Your documentation links them to artwork stolen from European museums, the agent explained. Care to elaborate? Vanessa's arrest followed swiftly. Her phone contained not only evidence of the current conspiracy, but links to previous art fraud schemes. Each time she tried blaming Oliver, prosecutors presented more incriminating texts showing they'd worked hand in glove. Gabe's testimony wasn't even necessary. The case was airtight. Lena had warned Gabe that love must be protected. Now that protection ended Vanessa's scheme. Her final look at Gabe in court held no trace of her earlier poise, only raw hatred, fueled by her failure. 1 year after the Thanksgiving incident, the Lakeview estate hosted a gathering of a very different kind. Candela directed the event with quiet efficiency, her staff drawn from survivors of domestic abuse. Each finding a new start under her mentorship, Dr. Renee Winston moved among them with natural grace, her insights into trauma helping Mia transform her pain into a mission of support for others. Gabe watched them interact, seeing echoes of Lena's compassion. Mia's foundation offered counseling and emergency services for children enduring emotional abuse. The dog bowl from that horrible Thanksgiving, now bronzed, had become a powerful symbol of resilience. At the newly opened Community Art Center, formerly Oliver's Gallery, children filled bright halls with laughter, their artwork displayed where forgeries once hung. Gabe's quiet strength turned Oliver and Vanessa's schemes into catalysts for good. The center provided free art classes, mentorship programs, and a safe space for those in need. Candela oversaw the center's day-to-day operations as program director, her loyalty and intuition recognized by everyone who knew the story. Don's cybersecurity expertise safeguarded the center's records and offered training to other nonprofits. Paige's legal knowledge shaped legislation that treated psychological abuse as seriously as physical harm. Mia emerged from the nightmare determined to share her journey. She started a blog, telling the story of how cruelty had almost broken her, but instead sparked a movement. Her accounts resonated with thousands, eventually becoming a foundation that supported abuse survivors. Vanessa, now in a maximum security facility, tried publishing a memoir claiming she was the real victim. Publishers refused. She remained unrepentant, her hatred festering. Oliver, after serving 7 years, found a semblance of redemption consulting for law enforcement, helping detect forgeries with his deep knowledge of fakes. His donation to Mia's foundation became a small step toward atonement. Meanwhile, Gabe's construction company thrived on the reputation he'd forged. The hospital wing he and Lena had dreamed of expanded into new communities, adopting design principles that honored her compassion. The scholarship fund in Lena's name continued to help aspiring nurses. Their success was a testament to the idea that love, once properly protected, could become unstoppable. 10 years later, the Community Arts Center buzzed with excited children. Mia Catherine Dawson, now 30, adjusted a crooked frame on the wall, smiling at the vibrant artwork. "Miss Mia," a little girl asked, tugging her sleeve, "will you tell us the dog bowl story again?" Mia glanced at the bronze bowl in its display case, accompanied by newspaper clippings about Vanessa and Oliver's downfall. During the opening ceremony, she promised, "When your parents come, the center's 10th anniversary celebration drew family and friends." Gabe, now silver-haired, shared proud looks with Dr. Winston, who had become his second wife 5 years earlier, adding a joyful chapter to their story without replacing Lena's memory. In the same halls where Oliver once curated forgeries, children's laughter echoed in joyous contrast. Candela's staff bustled happily, making sure each visitor felt welcome. Paige mingled with legal advocates discussing new legislation. Dant demonstrated state-of-the-art security features to a group of volunteers, explaining how vigilance saved many from repeated trauma. Survivors who had found new life through the foundation returned to celebrate, forging a chain of hope that stretched far beyond the Lakeview estate. As the evening wound down, Mia gathered the children around the bronze dog bowl. 10 years ago, someone tried to break my spirit by treating me like I wasn't human, she said. But my father and I learned to turn cruelty into kindness. Now, that moment of pain helps us protect others. Gabe stood nearby, remembering Lena's final plea, to protect Mia's heart while still allowing it to grow. That vow had grown into a larger promise, encompassing everyone threatened by deception or abuse. Vanessa had tried to tear them apart, and instead brought them closer together. Oliver's forgeries, meant to enrich him, now funded programs that enriched entire communities. In the end, their adversary's greatest punishment wasn't prison or humiliation. It was knowing that everything they had tried to destroy had flourished into a legacy of healing. Their cruelty had become the very foundation of an unstoppable force for good, led by the family they had so grievously underestimated. Love properly protected, Gabe realized, was the strongest shield of all.